So I'm not biting the hand that feeds me here
Hmm.
because I am
Hmm.
a tech guy. But Snapchat is designed for kids for it to be kind of addictively fun, and it is this kind of classic race to the bottom of the brainstem. So we've got to remember as well, this instant messaging thing is seen to be very fun. It's instant gratification. It's a bit like kids in a candy store. Like it's addictive for them, and this is why about 60% of the users are 15 to 25. And you've also got to remember, of course, you're not meant to be on the platform if you're under 13, but all you've got to do is say I'm over 13. So that's that's quite easy to get around. So now what we're really talking about, Chris, is we need a kind of almost a government. Can you remember like 1970s kind of government push really on this, or something needs to be taught to these young people to say it's like a digital green cross code. It's like we're not saying don't use the roads, but we've got to say that you've got to look both ways, right? You've got to have an awareness whilst using Snapchat, because sadly, as these stats, and these stats are absolutely terrifying, are proving, Snapchat is an area where this happens, and increasingly so. So I think we've got to teach people this, but we've got to teach parents to teach the young people. We can't blame the young people, but also
But
we've got to have, maybe a government or something. Someone needs to pay,
yeah,
but I don't think
yeah.
it's going to be the tech companies, because remember they're just doing it almost as a platform would do, if that makes sense.
The idea of parents, I mean, obviously parental oversight and all of this, but sometimes parents don't really know what they're looking for, do they?
No, absolutely. And this is why I'm saying it has to be an education piece, not just for young people, but also for parents as well. So, for example, if you don't know, I don't know, for example, if you're not telling your young person, look, make sure that you know the people that you're snapping with, and don't just give out your snap number or whatever it's called to willy-nilly. Also, turn off your location for everyone else to see. If they're not doing those basic things, then I'm afraid it is a little bit more dangerous out there. This is the same as I say, as you're crossing the road, but you don't tell them to look both ways. Unfortunately for teenagers, sometimes they don't think about their own safety, and these stats are proving what a dangerous place it can be.
Ronnie, let me give you what Snapchat have said to us in a statement. They say they have zero tolerance with sexual exploitation of young people, and when it identifies or has such behaviour reported, it removes the content, disables the account, takes steps to prevent the offender from creating additional accounts, and reports them to the authorities. What do you make of that?
Well, unfortunately, I think we're not seeing that zero tolerance in practice because we're looking at such a high proportion of grooming crimes happening on the app. Again, this is something that children tell us they don't feel safe on that site. So yes, some changes have been made. We will always welcome efforts to improve children's safety online, but we need to be going much further. And one thing I'd particularly say is we can't be waiting until things are reported and then dealing with the aftermath. By then, too much harm has happened and children have had to go through awful experiences. So, I take the point about children needing support, parents having that education. But again, the responsibility has to be with these platforms to be preventing these crimes and quickly detecting them where harm might be happening.
Will the Online Safety Act, the new act, make any difference?
Yeah, I mean, at the NSPCC, we strongly support the Online Safety Act. Ofcom are going to be implementing their illegal safety duties imminently, and we'll be looking for tech companies to quickly respond. But we'll also be looking for Ofcom and the government to set really high expectations for companies. We really have to shift the dial here. It can't carry on as business as usual. So we'll be looking for, like I say, Ofcom and government to set that bar high and to quickly take enforcement action where companies aren't properly complying.
Okay, actually, Tom in Beckenham has said, just listening to this, and the item that Snapchat is the most used platform for grooming, Snapchat responds it has a zero tolerance policy. Does that mean they previously had a little bit of tolerance policy? Or maybe they highlight their policy because competitors don't? It's a totally useless response to a serious issue. Do you want to say a final word on that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, one of two things really. Yeah, I think they've got to do a lot more, but also remember, kind of from a privacy point of view, it's actually quite hard to do. And as the young lady was rightly saying, it's actually more to do with it happening beforehand. The thing I'd say for most parents, and this is absolutely key, teach your young people that Snapchat messages don't just disappear, especially pictures, because you can take pictures of pictures and you can also use the desktop app, and that's how they'll get you. So that idea that I can do this and it's a one-off and it disappears, that simply isn't true. So that's the bit we've really got to teach young people, because they do things and then of course they can regret it, and of course they can then be blackmailed, and that is the bit I'm afraid Snapchat couldn't really do anything about, even if it wanted to.
Thanks very much indeed to both of you. Appreciate it. Rani Govender, Child Safety Online Policy Manager at the NSPCC, and thanks to Dan Sodergren as well, Technology and AI Expert.